Om Sri Krishna Paramatmane Namaha. So we'll start from the 25th stanza. We'll chant that one. Daivameva pare yagyam yogena paryupasate brahmagnava pare yagyam yagyenaivopajuhpati. Before that, we'll also chant 24th. I missed that one. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhi. Last week, one of the key messages was for a person in this path to see the inaction behind every action. And what was the message in that particular thing was to see that there is a larger force that is making sure every action happens. To see the non-doership of yours in that action. Even though you're using all your instruments, there is enabling aspect of it. It's all done by one divine force, which is the inaction part of it. So that was one key message came. So here on verse 24th verse for about 8 verses, is going to cover many practical yajnas that you and I can do, on a day-to-day basis, some of which we're probably already doing. But before he gets into the yajnas, he first wants to give like a PhD message. PhD message is give a high-level message of what karma yogi should think about in the context of all the things that he or she does every day. And that is what is covered in 24th stanza. And the way he covers it is very beautiful, right? He looks at a yajna itself. See, yajna, there is a physical yajna that we are all comfortable with, which we know, right? Where, there is a pujari that offers dravya, that offers ghee, etc. And there's a fire element to it, there's a bhasma at the end of it, and so forth. And we do it pretty much in all pujas, homas that is done. And then there is a yajna that comes in the context of karma yoga that was discussed in chapter 3, wherein yajna is the sacrificial aspect, that is a collective aspect of all actions that takes place in the universe. So to relate to it, right, just the fact that we are sitting in this session would not be possible unless the elemental forces come together. The energy from, the energy, power, electricity, there's no cyclonic storm, right? And the energy of each one of us to be available, right? If somebody falls sick, somebody is not available, whatever, right? Everything else. So that yajna, the fact that everything is interdependent and collectively that happens, and it's all for the larger purpose of the community. It's not for yourself. That yajna spirit is the one so the 24th stanza is going to cover the physical yajna. The physical yajna, what are the things we see? First, there is an oblation. There is something you offer. Let's say you offer, butter, you offer ghee, you offer rice, you offer sometimes puffed rice. Guruji offers at the end of every homa, you'll notice a puffed rice. Like that, many dravyas, whatever is offered. That offer is coming from where? Is coming from nature. Where is that nature? Part of Prakriti. And what is Prakriti part of? Is the divine, which is Brahman. So here you use the Brahma everywhere. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmatma, Brahmanahutam, everywhere Brahman. So Brahman here is the ultimate divine, the total mind. So the first thing is that whatever is offered, how it is offered through a ladle. We will always see that they'll rarely use a hand. We'll use always a ladle, especially for ghee, rice and sticky things and all that. There is a ladle. That ladle also comes from where? It's wood. Where does the wood come from? From a tree. Tree comes from where? Nature. Nature comes from Prakriti. Prakriti comes from divine. So there is a divine connection even there. So here he's saying that is also nothing other than Brahman. And the person who's offering it, like you and I, let's say if we offer something, Where am I coming from? I am a gift. My body has been brought here for some purpose. Ultimately, when I've come from this earth and we merge back into the earth, and earth is what? Part of nature, again, Brahman. So, and then, so the ladle, the fire to which all of this is offered. Fire is what? Nothing other than one of the Pancha Mahabhutas, an element. An element is totally integrated with the rest of divine, right? Pancha Mahabhutas is critical part of that. So, and whatever is reached by doing the yajna is also his, because he, he ordains, ultimately it is him based on his blessing that results manifest itself. So, so here he says, jnana, a karma yogi. Karma yogi means what? Who's a true practitioner of karma yoga. Realizes that all of the things that he does every day, and he takes the example of this. Now, for us, we may not be doing, homa every day. All of us write something. Let's say you write a letter or you write a poem. You have a pen, you have an ink, you have a paper, and the thoughts that lead the poem for the poem to be written. Where are all they coming from? It's all Brahman. You take your kitchen where we go and cook. The fire that's in the gas, right? The utensil and the contents of the utensil, whether it is grains or vegetables or whatever, everything comes from nature. So here it is to internalize this particular thing, right? That whatever I do, you and I do every day on, there is, if you look deeper into all of that, it's symbolic of only one big force, which is Brahman. That is the key message in this one. There's none other. And it is, I am not that. So here it is to say it is all him. It also means I am not that. So, if you notice, in some of the, I don't know how many of you have done this, that, what do you call, there's Agnihotra. Agnihotra, where we offer morning and evening at the sunrise time and sunset time, right? That is just one example. In that, there is always these mantras, which says, Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya Idan Namama. Agnaye Swaha, Agnaye Idan Namama. Idan Namama. Na Mama. Not mine. This is not mine. Fire is not mine. Surya is not mine. Right? The person who is doing the Agnihotra is also not mine. It is all him. So when we offer this, right, we do it with the spirit. One is as a ritual doing it, but also come with the thought process that it's all him. Everything is being enabled by him. And he offers the meaningful prasad. Idan namama, that we say. So, and then, one other way to look at it is that, when Guruji says, when he talks about meditation, he says 2 or 3 things care about of meditation. When he says, I am nothing, I do nothing, and I want nothing. What does I am nothing means what? That means you are everything. I am nothing is one way to look at it. I'm humble, I'm grounded, my ego is less, etc. That's one way to look at it. But if you see it from a deeper angle, everything is yours. Right? I want nothing means what? That means I surrender. I take refuge in you. You are the caretaker. You're the giver of everything. Make sure whatever is needed, deserving for a particular person is given. And I do nothing. I do nothing. I want nothing. I am nothing. I do nothing means what? You are the doer. I am simply a non-doer. I've been given instruments to do, which has been enabled by your divine force, and I offer this also to you. So this is a picture to have in our mind when we when we do, take the 24th stanza and relate it to our own day-to-day activities that we do, in terms of what happens. So moving on, 24th was that one, 25th stanza. Now he goes into, so now obviously a person who looks at this one, oh, I'm Brahman, etc., very nice, conceptually very good to understand. I know it. But can I practice it? Can I relate to it? Is it something practically possible? Am I mature enough to be ready to do that, right? For those people who are not yet there, who are still in the path or at early stages of the path, he starts going into more ground level yajna, starting from 25th onwards. So it's a combination of both, simple plus a little bit of, advanced level. Both are there. And you'll be able to relate to most of these. So the first one is Deva Meva Pare Yajnam. Deva Yajna. What is Deva Yajna? Multiple ways to look at this. So the beauty about Bhagavad Gita part is that, there are multiple interpretations, multiple angles one can look at the same word. Daiva from one angle can be looked at as a god, right? Today, let's say Monday Shiva, Lord Shiva, so I offer everything to Lord Shiva. So I offer, Rudra Puja, etc. to Lord Shiva on Monday. So whatever comes under the puja, so that is considered as Saguna Puja. That means what? I am offering something to a idol, offering something to a physical form or an entity that I can relate to. I can relate to a Ganesha because of his structure, or a Saraswati, whatever, right? So, or Hanuman, whatever it might be. And I'm able to relate to it because it's perceptible. I can see it, I can feel it, I can somewhere have a sense of, the power of that particular force, right? And that's the reason each and every god is given a certain power. And we attribute ourselves to, I want that power, so I pray to that power, right? So, but then, so for those initial people, Saguna. Saguna means what? Idol membership or offering through that medium to the higher force. Obviously, the divine power is what is behind that. It is, but for initial stages, that's what. Now, if you look back at our Vedic structure, what is said is that in the early Vedic period, there was no concept of gods. There was not even a concept of all of these came later when the rishis, munis realized that, for most practical people, going abstract level to a formless entity was difficult to comprehend. So therefore, they created these, the concept of God so that we can all relate, and festivals that go along with it. So that over a period of every year, we attribute, for different gods, and each of these gods collectively, if you see the power, is that one divine power. Somebody gives wealth, somebody gives knowledge, somebody gives, what do you call willpower, like a Hanuman, somebody gives energy, so many things, right? But if you see all of these together, it is at one. But we go through a medium. So through that God, through that idol, we realize that. But initially, we have to go through that phase for most people. So that is one way to look at Daiva. Second, but yeah, going back to that early period, what they worship though, if you look at even other cultures outside of India, they worshipped the elements. So Daiva also means the elements. The elements means what? Your five Pancha Mahabhutas, right? The fire, water, all of them, especially fire and water, is, nourished. Is worshipped a lot even today in many cultures. Right? Sun and moon were considered very sacred. Even today, it is considered very sacred. So, and why we do that? Because for us, that gives prakasha, and we see that that is a divine force that can't be even conceptualized. That's the power of that sun. So, therefore, Daiva Yajna can also be looked at as offering something to these forces. So therefore, let's say we do these pujas in the month of January, to sun god. Similarly, people do a lot of offering, at Paurnami days to the moon. So like that, we have multiple things. Air is worshipped multiple ways, right? And earth is worshipped in many ways. Why? When we harvest things, we treasure the what the earth element gives us. So all of those are also considered under the gamut of Deva Yajna. So that's the first line. The second line, which is, probably a little bit on the higher level understanding, Brahma Magna Vapare Yajnam Yajnaivopajuhvati. He says here, offering the self into the fire. Now, what is the self into the fire? We can look at it in multiple ways. One simple way to look at it is that what am I? I today am limited by certain things, right? I have certain, you know, impressions. I have certain gunas that I want to correct. I still, may not be, doing my practices very regularly. So there are some imperfections that I may have. Those imperfections are coming because of my gunas, because of my past experiences, all of that. So offering that limited I as in limited Ramesh or limited, whoever our names are, into the bigger I. Bigger I is the fire. The fire, what it does, it eliminates anything that gets put into it. You put anything to it, it eliminates. So removing those impurities, removing those misgivings that you and I might have that we have collected over a period of time, right? And offering it. So offering your limited self into the higher self is what is being conveyed in the second line. So, and one way to look at it, and then I have an ego, there's a bit of still I have a sense of doership, I did this, I did that. So offering even the sense of doership, individuality, I am this, I am that, etc. So offering that the individuality into that something which is beyond individuality. It is the ultimate truth. So the fire is considered, also as there's another aspect of in our culture. It is said that fire is like the conduit. It is like a courier. Supposing you were to worship a particular devata, right? You offer it into the fire, and that message goes to that particular devata. And that's the reason in our culture fire is considered so sacred. Because what is offered there, whoever is the ultimate, destination to where it has to go, it reaches through what? Through that fire. That is the deepest symbolism that we have, and that's the reason, nothing is complete without a fire. No marriage is complete, at least in most cultures, in most places in India, without a fire, because it is the ultimate sanctity of a wedding, right? That we say. So like that. So that's the reason that message, that fire was taken, I'm sure, by Vyasaji in depicting this when the 24th stanza. Okay. Go to the 26th verse. Yeah. Stotradim indriyanyanye samyamagnishu juhvati shabdadin vishayan nanya indrayagnishu juhvati. So here there is, all of this, if you look at the simple meaning, it may not convey the message of what is conveyed. A lot of this has got certain times a deeper meaning. So, yeah. So look at this word, stotradim, offering of your senses. Now, what does it mean, offering of senses? What do our senses do? Right? The sense of craving, sense of aversion, the sense of desires, all stems from the senses, isn't it? And we realize it. We realize that, that is limiting me in certain ways. So if I offer those, what you call wrong givings of the way the senses in me operate, or I'm not in control of it. So if you remember, there is a word in that we all would have, done advanced course, you have heard Shama and Dhamma, right? Which is one is controlling the senses, one is controlling the sense organs. So, and how do you control it? Through multiple other practices, which we'll not get into. But here, what he's saying is that I simply take refuge into the fire. I offer this to you. You take care of it. I'm doing whatever best I can. I'm putting it to the fire. And the way Samya Magnishu, the word is used. Samya Magnishu is what? Agnishu, Samyam Agnishu, into the fire of Samyama. Samyama is here, you can relate it to as a fire of restraint, or, the divine fire into which, you know, everything glows, right? Where um, there is a dharana, there is meditation, and there is also, you know, so everything put together, you offer that into the Agni. So what he's saying is that when you do that, you reach that samyama stage, where the samyama stage is what able to handle challenges in life, able to handle, whenever things come, I don't get perturbed, I don't react, I respond. And so by offering all of these, and so the samyama is so into the fire of restraint, what am I offering? Not only the senses, but also the sense organs in a symbolic form, right? I'm simply offering it here. And many a times in our thing, it's always said, right? You beyond a point, you have to pray. You just, surrender. You can't do many things. As much as you do, what is making you and I, feeling better after a kriya? What is you and I making after we do a long, meditation course? There's a force, right, that makes it all happen, right? We are just offering at the end of the day into that meditation. We're offering ourselves into that, into the Rudra Homa whenever it happens. So like that, offering ourselves. So that is in the first line. Shabdadin Vishayan Yanye. Also, so it's sort of related to the first one. Sound. See, what do we do when we are not able to sometimes detoxify ourselves? Some of us want to listen to music. Some of us want to, everything has to be done in parallel. While I'm eating, I should be listening to something. When I'm eating, I should be talking to somebody or reading the newspaper, seeing my cell phone. So all the senses are getting bound because it wants to do so many things. So even offering such things, offering because of my fascination for sound, my ears are trapped. Because of the, fascination for certain foods, my mouth is trapped. I don't have a sense of discretion. Offering all of this into the fire of the senses. Indriyagnishu jupati means what? Into the fire of the senses. So the word yajna gets used here, right? So you can look at all this also as and look at that yajna as a physical yajna here, because fire is that got that power, right? Bhasma power. It can put anything, to blend to what you call into ashes, and that is what we that's what we want to do with this. So um, so if you look at a couple of these few verses, right, a few things come into play, right? You look at when we talk about sense control, when we talk about offering this, etc. Maybe two examples. One example you can take is two characters opposite, both in Ramayana. One is Ravana, and one is Dasharatha. What does Ravana have? 10 head is symbolic. What do the 10 heads represent? Five senses, five sense organs. And what is it indicative of? Huge craving. It's almost like I have five heads, right? I can eat in five different mouths, right, if I want. Or I can hear 5, 10 different things at the same time. Just imagine the power, right? So what are we doing? I'm just craving for 10 things at the same time. Can't be without it. So symbolism of Dasharatha is never about the fact that he's got physical 10 heads, but we interpolate it as that it's an example of huge craving. Just the opposite is the case with Dasharatha. Dasharatha, which is 10 chariots. That means what? A person who can handle even one chariot, is really good, right? Because there are multiple horses that are running that one single chariot, and to manage that itself is a challenge. Now, to be able to handle 10 chariots simultaneously with just two hands, that is the ultimate control of the senses, right? Because each of those, ropes that are connected between the person and the horse that is running each chariot, each of those ropes are what, the senses, right? So I need to constantly maneuver it in a way so that the chariot goes in a certain direction. To be able to do that for 10 requires ultimate control. So Dasharatha is considered as an example of what? It symbolizes total control with full clarity. And, so that the mind doesn't go astray. It is, absolutely clear, crystal clear in what he wants to do every minute. Such a person. And these examples are taken so that, even though, and because sometimes you have to show extremities. You just take a simple thing, people don't relate to it. But then when you look at 10 heads on one side and 10 chariots on the other side, you just see, where we are and where we need to go. So that's what we want in all of this. So question is, how much are we so caught up on a particular scenery, where my eyes are glued to always that, or my cell phone, right? All of these, how do we get some sanity into the usage of all of that is through these yajnas. Okay, moving on. 27th stanza. सर्वान् इन्द्रियकर्माणि प्राणकर्माणि चापरे आत्मसंयमयोगाग्नो जुह्वति ज्ञानदीपिते. So this we chanted 28th verse. द्रव्ययज्ञास्तपो यज्ञा योगयज्ञास्तथा परे स्वाध्यायज्ञानयज्ञाश्च यतयः संशितव्रताः. So one particular part of 27th I need to cover. Might have that one. Yeah, the word prana karmani chapare. So prana, right? We normally associate prana as, pranayama, there is a prana. But here the prana is to be understood as the life force in you and I, right? What is the life force? Definitely one is breath. But then, what our Shastra says, we have 5 elements that come under the life force. One is definitely prana, then there is apana, then udana, vyana, and samana. And each one of them is governed by a devata. So obviously one is to do with the respiratory system, which is prana, of course circulatory system, then elimination system, the growth system. All of these are what is constituted. So when we talk about these, the question is, are we aware of these things? Yeah, we are aware of our breath. So here he wants us to sensitize that these forces exist in each one of you. Become aware of all of this. Hmm? That apana is what is responsible for all the elimination that happens, right? Udana, Vyana is responsible for all the circulation that happens, to the heart and so forth. And then Samana is for all the absorption that happens, for food, everything that happens. And Udana is very interesting. Udana is something that is responsible for taking care of ourselves when we go to sleep. When we go to sleep, our mind goes to rest. Everything goes for a rest. So Udana, still is active at that particular time, when Udana runs the show. And when we wake up, it's Udana that, enables the mind and everything. Let's say we go from the dream state or a sleep, or a deep sleep state to a waking state. It is Udana in action. Udana is also the life force that ensures that when we leave the body, it takes everything with it. What takes the mind, what takes all the other elements from our body out, the life force from our body, it is Udana. Udana, therefore, is considered extremely, it's one of the last things that leaves the body. Some other things might have left the body, but Udana is the last thing to leave the body when we perish one day. So here he's talking about what his Sarvan Indriya Karman, Prana Karmani Chapare. So here we have to understand that, we understand the vital energy that you have in all of us. So offer these, offer the senses, to that thing, right? Because it is because of these vital forces that even the senses are working. Right. We know that, for example, when we sleep, there is a particular life force that is governing things. When we are eating, after we have eaten, there is a digestive force in action. Right. It is offering all of these also into the fire. It's just becoming aware that each of them are these energies are making me survive and live each and every minute. And as we age, each of these, life forces start diminishing in terms of its power. And of course, leading to the end. But yeah, while we are alive at this particular minute, can I be cognizant of the fact that these five, these life forces are there, right? Of course, in which breath is a, very obviously perceptible part from outside itself. But there are other things that are happening inside, right? That governs my day-to-day health, governs my day-to-day energy. You and I know that, if some of these pranas don't function well, we are not in good health, right? So offering these is also something that is being referred to here in this particular stanza. Okay, now 28th verse. Yeah. So 28 talks about multiple yajnas. The first one that, we can all relate to is dravya yajna. Dravya, right? Very obvious, right? Whatever we offer into the fire, all the herbs, leaves, dried fruits, everything, whatever comes from nature. And it is also here, one way to understand this also is that, nature is a big giver of everything. So the other aspect of this dravya to understand is what is offered there is also to offer the thing that you have in your possession, whatever is yours, which is what? Wealth. It could be money, it could be material, it could be skills, it could be just the time itself. So here, when we are saying yajna, we are talking about charity. We are talking about giving our time, going to some particular, NGO where they take care of elderly or young people, etc., and spending time with them, bringing cheer into their faces, offering whatever is possible. It may be not money, but just offering skills, offering your presence there just to hear them out. So, and the key message is what in all of this is to realize that, when we were born, we came empty handed. And one day we are also going to go back empty handed. During the time I'm here, can I give everything that was given to me? It was not that I got it, it was given to me. Even the money that I have possession of, even the skills that I have possession of, everything has been given to me. So I am only giving what is really not mine. It is not that something is mine and I'm giving it. The typical sharing means I have something and I'm giving something here. But if you look at it from a higher perspective, everything has been given to me. And whatever that little thing has been given to me, I'm just giving as a gratitude to somebody else. So, and the way to look at this dravya part is also to understand that it's all from nature. Nature gives everything. Imagine if all the dravyas that are offered in Homa, if you go to Chandi Homa, the amount of dravyas that are offered, so many coming from different parts of the country. Everything nature is giving. So that is Dravya Yajna. Then we get the Tapo Yajna. Tapo Yajna, you all would relate to it, right? Any austerity practices. Right? Whether it is Upavas, whether it is Mauna, whether it is you take a Brata, or you just say that, I'm going to abstain myself, even do a detoxification, right? No cell phone for a day. No talking to somebody for a day. I'm going to just fast, or starve myself for a day. Or I take a divine vow that during this entire Navaratra, I'm going to just fast. You can take any example depending on one's capability, etc., and health. All of these austerity practices, whatever is possible for a particular person, be done. Obviously, certain things are not allowed for people, let's say, who have sugar or diabetes. So you can't do certain fasting, etc. So obviously, certain limitations are there, but that's the reason it is whatever one can do under the given circumstances. So it is to forego things. You've been given certain things, you forego for a period of time and observe yourself, observe your mind. So Dravya Yajna, Tapo Yajna, Yoga Yajna. Yoga Yajna means what? One simple way to understand is Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga talks about eightfold path discipline of Patanjali, right? Yama, Niyama, Pratyahara, all of these things. Then Dhyana, Samadhi, everything is there in that one. Asanas, everything, right? So that is one way to do it. Or you can look at the yajna that you and I do with all the yoga practice that, those of us who've learned an art of living, from the pranayama to the kriya to the meditation to advanced course and sanyama, etc. All of those come under this packet. So whatever comes under word yoga, because whatever we're following is all yoga practices. You see it from a larger perspective. So those comes underneath that. And then comes what Swadhyaya Yajna. Swadhyaya Yajna. Swadhyaya is what, Parayanam, right? Chanting of scriptures. Let's say you take, any of the Sahasranamas or you take Granthas, whatever we do, all of those chanting, learning them, memorizing them, chanting them regularly, all of those come under Swadhyaya Yajna. It could be any, independent of language, anything that is as an offering, singing the glories of the divine, comes under Swadhyaya Yajna. Then comes Swadhyaya Yajna. Then Yajna, Jnana Yajna, right? Swadhyaya Jnana. Jnana Yajna, very simple, right? Jnana Yajna is being in knowledge. So knowledge is what, if you look at knowledge, three key elements, right? That we talked at the very beginning of when we started, comes in three. One is Shravanam, listening, and absorbing that particular thing, but then doing mananam of it, which is asking questions, clarifying, you know, toggling it in your head and, massaging it so that, you understand or are able to relate to it from a practical sense, and nididhyasana, just integrating into one's life. It's a wisdom. Until then, it's just knowledge, book knowledge. I can say book knowledge could be, Shavana. Manana, once you get to Nididhyasana, it's no longer bookish knowledge. It becomes wisdom. Wisdom means every day I breathe it. Nobody has to tell me it is right or wrong because I know for a fact that it is the right thing. That is, Jnana Yajna. So here, when we attend any of the Guruji's, what you call, satsangs, and he gives answers, question answers, comes an Jnana Yajna. And, these sessions that we have, all of them. So in these sessions, what are we doing? We are doing a bit of Shavanam and we are doing a little bit of Manana. And the intent is what, as we learn more and more about it, right? We make this, internalize it and make it into a practice. So therefore, offering all of this, Jnana Yajna, at his lotus feet. So here we can take it as a lotus feet of the Guru, or we can offer it also into the Yajna. So that when I offer it, right, I'm offering it as a refuge. I'm offering it as a surrender, because of which I'm able to absorb, right? Absorption power, I can hear, but how much am I absorbing? It's not under my control. I can hear for an hour. How much did I absorb? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes? That can be enabled only by the divine power, isn't it? And how much do I retain? Also by him. How much am I able to make it into a practical reality? Again, his blessing. So, Jnana Yajna, we have definitely a role. I have to be initially, I have to take the responsibility of being in the knowledge. But what gets soaked in, right? That's the reason Jnana Yajna, it is always said, once it's never enough. But as Guruji say always, right? Do the advanced course every 3 months, do certain, Saimya course, regularly. Why is it? It doesn't happen. Okay? We take it's like a tip of the iceberg sometimes in one session. Do another one, maybe a little bit more. But sometimes every time you hear the same thing, something strikes you. Even in the knowledge sheets that he covers in all of these courses, we don't absorb everything because, maybe the mind has not come to that level of maturity. So here we are offering even the path of Jnana Yajna to that divine Yajna or to the Guru, offer at the feet of the Guru. Okay, so we go to the next stanza. Apane juhvati pranam prane panam तथा परे प्राणापानगति रुद्वा pranayama parayanaha. Obviously, you hear a lot of words that we have heard before. Pranayama parayanaha. So obviously, this is talking about the pranayama aspect of it. So here we already talked about the life force elements, right? We talked about, the prana, pana, vyana, udana, samana, etc., all of them. So here is just talking about practicing these with some level of guidance, never on your own. It's always said this particular stanza said you have to do it with guidance on how to restrain your incoming breath, how to hold on to your breath that you hold, how long should you exhale, and again hold. And these are all, there are terminologies for all of this. We don't need to get into that. But the point is that, right, whatever we do, let's say in the three-stage pranayama, all of that, right, is what, regulation of breath through a guided, through somebody who guided you on how to do it. Because that guidance is blessed by a larger force. So here, what he's saying is that apane, prana is, one is inhalation, one is exhalation. Apana is exhalation. Incoming breath is prana. Prana panam tatapare. Prana pana gati rudva. So offering all of these. Gati means what? In a certain rhythm, in a particular fashion. Rudva, restraining it. Right? Just, you have to hold the breath for a count of so much, you hold it. And what is it doing? All of these, you learn how to restrain things. Restraining breath, what it does, it helps, it's doing a lot of cleansing within. But you also understand what restraint means, right? Can I restrain the same thing in many other aspects of my life? That is what we have to relate to this, right? I can easily restrain a pranayama, during the Kriya practice. But if I internalize that word restraint into other aspects of life, how much am I able to do? So one is A, to understand this, B is to practice it regularly. And understand, relate to this word restraint and apply it elsewhere in your life. These are the key messages. And all of these, when we do, and the terminologies, you might have heard this, right? There's a Rechaka, there is a Kumbhaka. And then there is also, when you hold it, that's also different terminologies. All of these are there. And these have been governed by our rishis. Guruji has also said, right, for thousands and thousands of years. Okay, all right. 30th stanza. Apare niyataharaha pranan paneshu juhvati sarvepyete yajnavido yajnakshapita kalmashaha. So here what are we talking about is offering, having niyata ahara. Niyata ahara means what? Something. Ahara is normally referred to as diet, food. Niyatam means what? Regulation. Somebody who is able to regulate the diet. Now, why food is taken? See, always there is a symbolism behind all of this, right? There are so many things we have inlets for, right? One is hearing, one is through the eyes, one is through the mouth. So now in all of this, you have to take one example, and obviously something that's close to us that we, as part of our Annamaya Kosha, which is the main body functioning, food is one key thing that comes in. So that's the reason this food is taken up. But we have to relate this understanding here that when you say ahara in the context of the Bhagavad Gita stanza, it refers to all the inlets. Having a regulation over what I hear, having some regulation over what I see. Do I have a say in all of this? Is the key thing. Food, of course, very important. And if you go back to the previous stanza where we talked about, austerity practice, we talked about fasting, connects with this one. It gives us a way. Once you fast, you understand there is a way. I can live without eating for some period of time. With that, then you say, no, I can handle it. I don't need to take this, it's not a must that I have to eat this at this particular time, only when I'm hungry. It is said that in science, only when you're hungry, you should eat. It's not by clock 7 p.m. ho gaya, khana ho gaya, I have to eat dinner. When I'm not hungry, I don't necessarily have to eat. Because what it's saying, the body is still digesting the previous stuff. It is not yet done, and you're already dumping something inside. And this science has shown it. It's not even this, right? Science has shown this. So, and food we know. So obviously, therefore, regulation of the food, eating the right quantity. So if you look at all of these aharas, whether it is hearing, seeing, touching, eating, all of these, right? What is that we're trying? Regulating the quality and quantity of the intake. Both quality, right? One can see the cell phone and see garbage, or one can see something that is sensible, that is applicable, that has got, something knowledgeable, useful for our life into it. And how long I see it. Okay, great. I keep on, what you call listening to good music. How long can I see? Right? So quantity also matters. So everywhere, they're having a balance. The key thing in all of this is be centered. Be centered even in utilizing your inlets, for the five inlets that we have. That is what is referred to is niyata aharaha. Pranan praneshu jukvati. So these are all the, what these governs those five, five vital elements that we talked about, right? Apana, Vyana, Udana, etc. The beauty about these, right, is that if you look at it, these these are not always, you have to give a rest time for all of this, right? There's certain times when one vital air is used a lot. Let's say you're running, your prana and apana has to be fully in power. But when you're sleeping, it doesn't, right? All of this goes to rest. When you're fasting, the digestive system goes to rest. But something else takes over. When you're in fear, another life force takes. So the the key thing in all of this is that to make sure that those forces first of all are working in harmony, and all of them are given also the right time, right? So that everything is utilized properly. So here he says, Sarve pete yajna vido yajna kshapita kalmashaha. So if I follow these practices that I have gone through, there are about 12 exams that he has taken from the 25th verse and 25th verse till here. Even if I do a few of these, but with intent, with with gratitude, if I do these yajnas, then my sins are taken care of, destroyed. I get freedom. Yajyak shapita kalmashaha. They are the sins are destroyed. What is sins are destroyed? One can look at sins as not as a punishment, but just the fact that I don't want wrong things to be done. Whether it is wrong acts, wrong thoughts. I want to be in a space of sattvic mentality rather than a tamasic mentality. Destroying those negative tendencies that pull us down. And why is it that when it pulls you down, then my intellect is not in sanity. I react. I'm disturbed whenever something bad happens. I get totally perturbed. So to maintain that equanimity, to maintain that centeredness, these yajnas have been given, and that's what when he says destroying sin, we are talking about that. And obviously, when I'm in a yajna spirit where I see this as a collective force that is making everything happen, new vasanas don't develop. Vasanas develop when I have, I want this result. I got it. Great, wonderful. So whenever there is, hoping for a particular result, whenever there is a craving, whenever there's an attachment to a result, everything, obviously there is an impression that gets created. And those impressions, manifest itself into another you know, result later on, cause effect, right? It carries on. Now, if I follow strictly the yajna principle to a large extent, I bring down the amount of vasanas, new vasanas that gets developed. So here, and when I do all of that, there is freedom. See, whenever it's only when we feel bound, right? When I feel trapped somewhere, mentally trapped, we feel uncomfortable. What do I do? What do I do? I'm doing everything, yet I feel I'm trapped. To come out of the trap is that freedom, right? Whenever you hear in all the satsang Guruji people asking questions, I do this, yet I'm going through this, I'm going through this, I'm going through this, and Guruji very very smartly gives very appropriate answers to each one of them as though it is meant for them, right? And so one is to become aware of the fact that I have it, and then realize that there are these practices that I do which of all collectively takes us to that next level of awareness, higher awareness, being centered, etc., etc. We go to the 31st verse now. Yajnashishtamritabhujo yanti brahma sanatanam nayam lokosya yajnasya kutonya kuru sattama. So here he talks about very beautiful, right? Yajna Shishta Vrita Bhujaha. Nectar. Amritam is what the word Amrita that comes. Amrita means what divine nectar. What is a divine nectar for all of us? Somebody gives us honey, somebody gives us the Panchamrita. That of course is very honey for each and every one of us. But when we are also in a blissful state at the end of a meditation, when we are in practicing things, when we feel totally out in a different world, that is also bliss. Even that bliss is nectar. So here he says, through these practices, one gets to taste the nectar of the sacrifice. All these yajnas, if you follow diligently, so forth, you get the nectar, the remnants of the sacrifice. There's a word called remnants. Yanti Brahma Sanatanam. Guru Yajna Shishtamrita Bhujo. That means what? The remnants means what? Remnants means what? What are the remnants of a yajna that we do homa? Ashes, right? And don't we take those ashes and put it into our forehead, and put it there? Because there's a belief that that ashes, which is the remnants from all the dravyas, which all the homas that you did, that is sacred. And with a belief and faith, we put it there, right? Or there is a holy water that comes after an abhisheka. That is also another nectar. It is taken as a prasad. So similarly, the yajnas that you and I do also has got its own remnants of sacrifice, which is the result. So what does it do? It cleanses us. It makes us, come to a state where I'm able to handle challenges better in life. I'm growing spiritually. I'm smiling better. My relationship is better. Multiple ways to look at that particular thing, right? And all of this, when you look at it, there is a good feeling, right? There is a happiness feeling. A happiness quotient goes up. So he says that these people who are the eaters of this, this nectar, who have seen the results of this, they go to the eternal Brahman. Now, what does this mean, eternal Brahman here means? Does it mean that you do these actions and it takes you there? It is a conduit. It is, all of these are not an end in itself. All of these yajnas are a means to get there. Ultimately, what it is the grace, it is knowledge that is going to take us there. But to get into knowledge, you have to have a certain state of mind. And for that state of mind to be there, to get clarity, to absorb well, to get into proper nididhyasana, I should have done these yajnas so that I am mentally, in a good state of mind to be able to even sit in certain satsangs. Right. If we had not done that punya, we had not done, some cleansing, we will not be able to sit in satsang. Guruji has said this multiple times. You just cannot go to a Guruji satsang if you have not qualified, gone through some cleansing already, maybe now or earlier, right? And so all of these, what it has done, so for those people who practice it, they experience the results of this. And this is a conduit, this is a way to reach that ultimate divine. But for the people, na nayam lokosya yasya. But for the people who don't do this, na ayam. That means what? Not doing these practices. Who don't follow these yajnas. What does he say there? They will, they will not reach. They will reach another world. Another world means what? A world of tormented. You still live in a body. You still live in a physical place, in a house, etc. But your mind is tormented. You're not at happy. You're not at peace. So you're physically there, you're living, but mentally you're not at all in good shape. That is what is referred to by those people who don't form. So he's giving the importance of doing, these yajna practices in this particular chapter. So for us, it is important, therefore, to see, and many of these we can relate to because we are doing it thanks to Guruji, right? And there are certain things that we may not be doing 100%. We may do once in a while, or we think we can do better discipline in following certain things. And that should be the learning from these, 6, 7 stanzas that we went through. Hmm? So yeah, we'll continue in the next session.